Hi everyone, I am here in Cologne in the E-Werk with Ryan and Zach from OneRepublic, and first of all, thank you so much for taking some time for me today and for us watching. I just checked your MySpace website and you're almost up to 21 million visits, which is quite amazing. Right. And since your concert is going to be streamed tonight, maybe you can tell me how important the internet is to you before we get even talking about your music.
The internet is, for us, has been the most important thing with our music. Above and beyond television, above and beyond anything. The Apologize video on YouTube is one of the most watched videos, I think, in the world. And our MySpace page, when we got signed for the second time, I think we got signed because we were the top MySpace band and we didn't have a record deal. And we had all these songs. And if it weren't for MySpace, nobody would have known. So, I mean, the internet is everything as far as we're concerned. It's how we reached our fans. It's how we communicate with our fans. I honestly don't know how bands did it, before the internet. I don't even know how it'd be possible. It's like I don't know. I don't know what we would have done. We would have probably been in a different situation.
Are you guys addicted to the internet like I am? I check my emails about 20 times a day. And
yeah, it's pathetic.
Yeah? It's
pathetic. I have an iPhone and BlackBerry, and if we don't, sometimes the internet doesn't work on our bus and we all get crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the most pathetic part, is when somehow we can't get the internet and we're searching frantically, or we're at a hotel and it's €50 for 5 minutes, and we're but maybe it's worth it, 5 minutes of the internet. Or the bus doesn't work, and it is kind of we sort of rely on it, maybe a little too much.
We'll start talking about all this happening on MySpace, because you did have a record deal for a short time, and then they dropped you, and then MySpace helped you get to have a real, yes, a really good deal. But how exactly did that work? Do you know how people started to find out about what you were doing music-wise?
It's word of mouth. I know several other artists that have had a lot of success on MySpace, and with all of them, people on the internet are attracted to three things, I think, when it comes to music. A great song, or a great voice, or sex. We're not in the business of selling sex. There's enough people out there like Tila Tequila and other people that do that, so we don't sell sex. And I think we had just a couple actually really good songs. We had Apologize and Stop and Stare on MySpace for a year and a half, if not longer, with way before it ever came out on radio, just sitting there. And so people just started telling each other. Kids love discovering things. People on the internet, I love finding artists that no one else knows about on MySpace and being it's like my own thing, and I think so do most kids. And so when they find something, a lot of these, Apologize was the MySpace song for millions of pages. And then their friends find out about it, and it just became a viral thing. And so by the time that the album actually came out and the songs came out, millions and millions of people already knew about us because of MySpace. So there was this familiarity, and everybody wanted us, I think, to succeed, because we had spent so long just working it on MySpace. And so I think that's it. And when people want to hear a good song or a good voice, Colby Calais had a lot of success on there. She has a great voice, and the song was very catchy, and it just took off. And our situation is very similar, Yeah.
But we actually can go back even further than MySpace. We can go back further to school times, because you guys met in school. You were classmates, but then you went off to Spain for a while and studied classical guitar. How much European influence is in your guitar playing and the way you make music? And how much does it help OneRepublic as a band?
Well, I lived in Barcelona when I was younger, before we even went to school. My family and I moved there when I was 7, and we lived there about 8 years. And it's kind of weird. It's a very different style of music. I hardly think that it influences much of what I do at all. It really, when I first started guitar, I wanted to play electric, and my parents wouldn't let me because they thought classical would be a better way to start. So the first 5 years of guitar playing was classical, and then the rest, up until when we started the band, it was all mostly acoustic that I played. And so finally, when we started the band, I had a chance to play electric. And then it's such a different style of music. I think maybe the only thing that that carried through was that I like the passion and the beauty of European style guitar, and I guess I think like sometimes I try to add that into whatever guitar I play. You know, it doesn't fit for everything, but I think that's one of the things the European influences.
The new album,
they feel the music, you know what I mean? And there's just a lot of feeling, and that's my favorite kind of guitar playing, whether it's electric or not, is the one that's full of feeling.
Yeah. And the new album?
Yeah, we're gonna use incorporate. We're figuring out a way to incorporate some flamenco, Spanish guitar into the new album, and as well as our live show. Because he's actually, when I first saw him back in high school playing, it's very, very impressive. Especially if you're not used to watching it. It's just lightning fast and just super complicated but beautiful. And I think that that's what's cool about being in a band that, you know, we're a rock band that does pop music, and you know, we kind of bounce back and forth between different genres and different styles of music, so we don't feel that we're tied to one sound. And because of that, what's awesome about pop, why I would rather be in a pop band than a indie band or a heavy rock band or any of that, just because there's no rules. With rock, you kind of have to, even the really good bands that are out there, each album kind of is similar, you know what I mean? There's always some kind of similarity, but with what we're doing, there's no rules. Like U2 is a rock band that does pop. You know, they're a huge pop rock band, and every album, they did the album pop, you know, and then Octum Baby and, you know, All That You Left Behind, or, you know, all these different styles of music, and that's what we're into, being able to incorporate any kind of music. And the next album, we've already started working on some songs geared for the next album. We originally thought about doing a couple new songs to put out on this album just as a Christmas release, and then the songs turned out so good but different enough that we thought, well, this doesn't make sense on Dreaming Out Loud. We should put this on, just do a new album. And the label, of course, yeah, let's do a new album. You know, this album's done very, very well, so we'll tour through the rest of this year on Dreaming Out Loud, and then starting, I think, February 1st is what we're potentially talking about right now, going back in and starting on a new album.
I don't know if your fans can wait that long, but they're going to have to.
Well, we'll have it. You know what? We're going to put out another song or two off Dreaming Out Loud. We're redoing Come Home. Come Home just got licensed for a big movie coming out worldwide that I don't want to say quite yet because people will see it. It's in the trailers and the previews, and it's this probably one of the biggest films of this Christmas season. We ended up getting a song placed in it. So we're going to redo that song, and I think it's a perfect song to put out, you know, just because for Americans, the war in Iraq, and which is what it was written about, and Christmas time and all that. The song's called Come Home. So
it's my favorite song on the album.
Is it?
Yes, I love it. Yes,
there you have it.
I love it.
There you have it. Okay, Ashley. Right?
Don't say that.
Sorry, kitchen cabinet.
Exactly.
So maybe something different.
So yeah, I know. That's all I know in German. So I just say Hoki every time. You know, I get excited and I go Hoki Ashley. Anyway, so Come Home. We're gonna release that, and hopefully that does well. And that'll carry us through the spring. And if we can get this album going and get it done, and you know, and get some movement on it, then, you know, we'd love to put out the first single, you know, earlier next year, you know, spring or something like that, you know.
I'd like to come back to a little bit more to your musical education and talk about how important it is that people know how to play instruments and write songs in order to make good music, because you are not a typical pop or rock band. You guys know what you're doing. I mean, you learned how to play the guitar, and Brent plays the cello, and it's a little bit different than a band who gets together and just sits in in their basement and jams.
Yeah.
Or do you think it makes a big difference? What do you think?
I think we've talked about this actually quite a bit. We were just talking about this today, actually, about our different writing styles, talking about the new album, how we would approach it. And there's something to be said for 5 people, you know, on any level of musicality, getting in a room and seeing what they come up with. And sometimes that absolutely works, and that can come up with the best songs in the world, sometimes. But also sometimes it's better just for each person to come up with ideas and bring them. You know what I mean? And so we don't really have any rules as far as writing. I know other bands have different things. I know with, like, I talked about U2. I know with U2, for example, The Edge, will come up with a bunch of guitar stuff and play it for Bono. Bono will come up with some melodies, and then they'll play it for Larry Mullins and Adam Clayton, and to fill in the rest of it. And that's how they do it. They each do it piece by piece, and they seems to work for U2 fairly well. So there's really no rule, but I do think that we are different than a lot of bands. Most bands that I know of got together in high school or in college or whatever just because they love similar bands and they want to play, and they get together in a room and just hopefully something good happens. And a band could be together for 10 years before they actually have a hit or before they actually reach a larger audience. For us, we were a little bit more focused from the beginning. I was writing songs. I was going to be a songwriter whether this worked or not. That's what I was doing, was writing songs just every single day, because my mentality was, you're only as good as your songs, and I don't want to waste 10 years of us just fiddling around trying to do something good. Let's do something good from the beginning. And so Zach and I both had the same approach. We both thought, let's not waste time. Let's make this a band that's all about the songs, that write the best songs possible every single time and deliver every single time, and win as many fans and friends as possible doing that. I think people, there's so many things to distract you these days on the internet and everywhere, that you can't afford to not write great songs.
You've done a really good job on Dreaming Out Loud. Ryan writes a lot of songs for other people, though. Zach, have you ever sat there and said, why did you write that song for her and not for us? Like Bleeding Love, for example, from Leona Lewis. I mean, that's a huge hit.
He wanted to sing that. He wanted to sing that.
Yeah, I was going to do a solo career, and that was supposed to be my breaking hit, but...
Does that topic ever come up, where you're like, well, why did you write that for them? Or why did you produce with them and not with someone else?
That's a good question. I think for the most part, we know that Ryan has a split personality, and when he writes for other people, that's like a whole other side of his songwriting. So and you can hear that in the music. It's obvious. It's obvious that the other songs just wouldn't work for us. And then the release that we get, I guess, when we write as a band, is that we're writing for us. We don't have to really think about anyone else but OneRepublic. And it's the same for Ryan when he comes up with ideas, or when we're writing a OneRepublic song. It's actually refreshing because he can say whatever he wants to say because it's him. And it's not like, well, what would she say, or what would he need for his song, or whatever. It's very much a focused on how we are all feeling when we write. So it's extremely different. None of us in the band bleed love, so that lyric wouldn't even be very legitimate for us.
We've never bled love.
We've never bled love.
I hope you never do either. That would
No,
not be
me
so
neither.
good. No.
It's painful.
Yeah, you were talking about your fans all over the world, and I posted a thread on your website yesterday asking fans to ask some questions. And there were people asking questions from LA, Florida, from England, from the Philippines, and it's just amazing. I just wanted to get some questions from you. From Glide Frog, she asked if you're tired of touring all the time and how you manage the touring, the interviews, the promo, and the music videos. How do you deal with all this stress?
It's very interesting. There are times when we absolutely get tired of touring. Touring is incredibly difficult. Traveling is fun when you only travel a few times a year. Then it's exciting and fun. But we've been in, by February, we'll have played in 6 out of 7 continents in a 12-month period. And so that sounds exciting, and there's some parts of it that are, but when you consider like Europe, just Europe alone, we've been to Europe every month since last November. And so all the flying, and Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, and we're going to South America. And so it is fun, and so I can't complain. But there are times where you cannot have a normal life. You just can't. You don't see your wives or your girlfriends or your fiancés, your friends. You're pretty much gone. Like when we checked out on tour last October, it's been a year, and you don't really see people, your friends for the most part, for a good year or two. And it's very tiring, but it's necessary, and it's also very fun. Like, we had 2 days off yesterday in Switzerland. We had a show in Zurich, and then we had 2 days off before tonight's show. And so we went down to Interlaken and Thun and spent 2 days in the Swiss Alps, and it was probably the most beautiful place that I think any of us have ever been and saw. It was incredible, and I thought, what kind of job do we have where when we get time off, we happen to be in the Swiss Alps? You know what I mean? So
not bad at all.
Bad. Yeah, and it's stressful, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Another question came from Frog Choir. These names are quite interesting, but there are reasons for sure. What do you think of other bands covering your songs and putting them on YouTube? Is it a compliment or does it annoy you?
Yeah. It's no, I think it's a compliment. Yeah. I think it's a huge compliment. The fact that so many people would feel our music so much that they would want to do their own version of it and put it on YouTube. It's it never upsets us, and it's actually kind of fun for me. There's sometimes, like, on the rare occasion that I'm a little bit bored and I do have the internet, I'll just YouTube like some of our songs and see so many different people that are connecting so much with it that they're doing their own version, and I think it's very flattering. It's, the fact, I don't know, like I think that it means so much more to us, the fact that we're writing music that other people enjoy. Then it's kind of like, oh yeah, because when you do any form of art, you always wonder who's going to connect with it.
Yeah, you want to connect.
And you want other people to sort of experience that song with you. It's not like us throwing it at them. It's kind of like we're all experiencing it together.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we see that, it's like, wow, that's cool. Would
you ever consider doing your own cover version of something? I mean, you talk about U2 a lot. Is that like, would that be an option?
I don't think we'd cover U2. We cover songs live quite a bit, just for fun. If we're the headlining act in a tour, we pick one or two songs and we'll mash them up together. Like tonight we'll do Gnarls Barkley, Crazy, and Bittersweet Symphony. We're working on a couple other Beatles cover songs and David Bowie and Queen. And so, as far as an album, I would cover. I think it'd be amazing to do like OneRepublic version of a Frank Sinatra song, like to rock out like Mac the Knife, Mac the Knife,
Yeah.
And there'd be something really. I'm really interested in things that on the surface don't make a lot of sense. And then you make them make sense, like Frank Sinatra and OneRepublic, but that'd be a lot of fun.
We'll talk a little bit more in a second about what's happening tonight, but I do want to ask this question from Jade Star from Florida. She asked, if you could be a woman, which woman would you be? I think that's just a very interesting
dangerous question.
Yeah, but I think I'd like to know the answer.
Crazy.
And why?
And why, exactly.
Well, you said that we have to watch what we say, so I won't say why. If I was going to be a woman... That is insane. I don't have a... Well, Joan of Arc.
Okay, I won't even... You know what? You can think about it, and then you can...
Oh, my God. Of course. You pick... So you can burn at the stake?
Well,
Or is that... You think women deserve that? No.
Come on, be honest.
No, she was a fighter. I think that's cool.
Okay. What about you? Any idea? Or...
Yeah, I would be...
He's got a lot of ideas.
I'd be some kind of like... Halle Berry or it's one of those Victoria's Secret models, just to be like for a day, just to know what it's like to be the most beautiful woman in the world, or one of those people that look at like the most beautiful woman. I'm curious what that must be like to walk around like for a day where everybody's looking at you, and like to know that like. I don't know. It'd be interesting to be on the flip side of things, because we're, guys, we don't walk around and usually get like, bothered by girl. I mean, sometimes.
Well, you do now, don't you?
Sometimes, but not like, it's very, very little when you compare it to someone like Halle Berry or Heidi Klum or somebody. They walk around and I think it'd be an interesting experiment to see what it's like to be, one of those beautiful women for a day. And I would definitely not I would make sure that I was not with, I wouldn't want to be Heidi Klum so I could sleep with Seal. if people are getting that idea. I don't.
No, I don't think
have
they want.
anything
No,
to steal.
we are.
There's a lot of fine print to these questions.
Yeah,
I know.
To this question, like
That question is
there's a lot
interesting.
of
That's the
like,
kind of question that you sit around when you're a guy and you're 14 years
Yeah.
old in high school. You say, "Dude, what girl would you want to be for a day?" Just you can hang out in your bed all day.
Well, your fans are asking, so it wasn't me. We are running out of time, sadly. If you have one reason why people should stay tuned on this internet page and watch the concert tonight, why would they? Why should they? What would be your answer to that?
I would say I would say because
God
if
demands
they
God demands it.
the universe is calling them to watch. No, I think if they like the album, then they'll like the show, and they'll find more in the show than the album that they like.
Yeah.
And and you know, keep us in business. So
Yeah.
watch.
Well, Dreaming Out Loud is the album that's out right now. You're going to hear songs tonight, and that's going to be on this website, so you should definitely keep staying on this website and stay tuned. Thank you so much for your time, Ryan and Zach, and say hi to the rest of the band. And stay tuned, you guys, because the next album is going to be out sometime next year. So
Yes.
it's going to be good, for sure.
It's going to be very good.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.